time suck in the entire United States, if not world. And I'm talking about time sucks like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Now, I know there's a lot of people going there, so we use a variety of strategies to market your property on social media. For instance, we're going to create a video, we're going to tweet about it, we're going to post it on our fan pages on Facebook, we're going to connect with potential buyers on LinkedIn. We're going to do whatever we can to make sure as many people as possible see it. The only thing I would ask you to find, are you not going to be a member of any of these here?
Yeah, Facebook and Twitter.
Facebook and Twitter. If I give you a link to your property, would you mind saying, hey, I just listed my property with Ben Kinney, here's a link to the property, in case you know anybody that's interested in moving? Would you be willing to do that for me?
Sure.
Okay, so then you and I can work together to get your property sold for the most amount of money. Now, when I add those 5 things up, Brian, here's what I've learned. Nobody has a more aggressive plan to get a property sold online than I do. But I always like to ask, and I'm going to ask you this a couple more times, has any agent that you had spoken to said they were going to do something else online that for some reason I forgot to mention?
No.
Okay, then it would be okay if I moved on? Sure. Well, the National Association of Realtors said that signs and flyers are still really important. In fact, they said roughly about 15% of all properties sold because of on-site advertising like signs and flyers. Now, we have a variety of strategies that we use to make sure that we maximize the amount of phone calls, the amount of buyer inquiries that we get from signage. For instance, we're going to put out a variety of different directional arrows to make sure everybody in the neighborhood knows your property is for sale. Additionally, we have some tricks that we use to get buyers that may think they don't have enough equity in their property to call us that would be interested in yours. For instance, on top of your property, I'm going to put a sign that says, buy this home and I'll sell your home for free. What this does is this takes sellers that maybe don't think they have any equity to call me so that I can give them an opportunity to show them that they could in fact afford to buy your property, maybe by renting theirs out, waiting to sell, or putting it on the market because they actually have more equity than they think. Or I could just sell it for free for them to help you get your property sold. Isn't that a pretty cool strategy?
Yeah, it is.
Now, additional to signs, we also do flyers. Now, one of the things that's different about our flyers, and notice that this one right here, is this is your inside flyer, Brian. And the reason I know it's the inside flyer is because it has the price on it. We don't give buyers the price of your property because I want them to call me. When they call me and I get an opportunity to speak to them, I have a much better chance to get them inside your property. So what we do is that we say to access the most accurate pricing information available on this property, call this 1-800 number 24 hours a day to get access. As soon as they call in there, I capture his phone number. I'm going to call this dude until he buys your home or he dies. That's my Additionally, we have this entirely voluntary program that actually nobody's ever volunteered out of. But this allows us to market 16 different properties on the back of the flyer in exchange for us being able to market your property on 16 other signposts across town. What we do is we carefully select properties that don't directly compete with your property. Larger, different location, different price points, smaller, more bedrooms, more baths, fancy view, etc. And we give buyers a variety of ways to call and access these types of properties. This increases the amount of sign calls on your property by 10 to 20 times, which means I have a much better chance of getting your property sold. Now, it's entirely voluntary, Brian, as I said, even though nobody's ever opted out about it on it. What do you think? Are you willing to do that? Now, if you do this process and you forget to ask, they get really ticked off when they come home and they see other properties on the back. You've got to say it that way. Now, let's skip right into open houses. Now, Brian, you have a choice. You can choose to do open houses. In fact, the National Association of Realtors said that about 7% of all properties sold because of open houses. What they don't tell you is a variety of those, and probably the majority of those, were new construction developments, condominium developments, where they had multiple properties to choose from. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Now, if you decide to do an open house, which we sure could if you want to, I'm just going to make one request. The first request is you lock away any valuables, jewelry, medications, firearms, documents, because sometimes people use open houses as a way to case your property to steal something. Now, if you choose to do an open house even after that, we can do it. Always try to bring an extra agent if possible and make sure that we don't get too many people in there trying to steal your stuff. I have a great alternative. It's called a 24-hour open house where agents or buyers can look at your property, all the features and benefits 24 hours a day, do videos or virtual tours. What this allows me to do is this allows me to only
Great
show
script.
qualified, motivated buyers, not just your nosy, stinking neighbors. Inside the property. Which one would you prefer?
I work for 24 hours.
24 hours open house. Okay, that's what most people choose, Brian, so we'll go ahead and do that.
Is this a little manipulative or what?
It's
great.
Don't use that script. Now, Brian, there's always the other category. Other is because we couldn't get a straight answer, or sometimes we just forget what it is. In this situation, other means maybe you found somebody. Maybe the neighbor bought it. Maybe we sold it to a family member. Maybe through marketing at work, or through my networking groups, or through my sphere, etc. We're able to find a buyer. So I'm going to give you copies of the flyers, virtual tours, things you can email out, things you can post online, so you and I can kind of race together to get your property sold. Now, after the other category, which is this thing called print advertising. Now, if we took the real estate book, the Harmon Homes, the newspaper, all those other publications, and we stacked them on top of each other, they probably hit the ceiling in here, Brian. Funny thing is, it only results in 3% of the sales. And the traditional, unsuccessful agents, they spend 90 to 100% of their marketing budget on something that only results in 3% of the sales. Isn't that stupid? Now, we do a little bit of print advertising. You might recognize this one. You ever go to karaoke? Sure. Because that's where I read this one. You guys agree, right? Yeah. So we will showcase your property in the real estate book, single largest publication in the state of Washington. We've actually never sold a property through it, but we do it to make our clients happy and to show preference. Now, Brian, I just went through a lot of information, and I'm just assuming, just based on getting to know you and your interaction with me, there probably isn't anything else that another agent has said that they would do to market a property that for some reason I forgot to mention. Can you think of anything, Brian, that another agent said that they would do that I just forgot?
No, I think you covered it.
Wow. If I combine all these things together, do you think this is a strategy that you get your property sold?
I believe it
Do
is.
you think that maybe we figured out the problem on why your home didn't sell fast?
Absolutely.
Okay. Brian, I want to talk to you about something. You're probably assuming, just based on the conversation and all the things that we talked about, Brian, is that I charge a lot more than everybody else. And you're not going to believe this. I pretty much charge what everybody else does. Now, just to show it to you, let's pretend for a second that each one of these dollar bills that I have in my hand represents 1%. And as you can see right now, Brian, I actually have $6 bills, so that equals 6%. Now, right off the bat, this is what most sellers don't understand, is 3% goes to the agent that brings the buyer. 3% I give away right off the top, which, you know what that leaves me? 3%. And that's what I get for the marketing and servicing your property. And that may still sound like a lot of money, so I want to break it down for you. Right away, one of those dollar bills is going to go away to my brokerage. See, I work for a national brokerage firm. It's actually the largest real estate company in the world. I love the total banker if you said that there is one. 1% roughly goes to my brokerage. So that leaves me with 2%, right? And I'm going to invest about 1% into the marketing and servicing of my listings. And this is what I use to showcase your property and get it sold for the most amount of money. Now, the 1% that's left, right, this is what I live on. This is what I buy shoes, feed my kids, what I have to do, right? And I wanted to explain this to you, because I know that you were talking to one of those dogs at the other company. And I know that that guy wasn't as committed to negotiating for himself. He probably did the same thing as negotiate for your property, because he did offer you 5%. So what I want to ask you about, Brian, is we know that he has to pay at least 30% of the agent for every buyer. And if you don't do that, then what happens is no other agent will show your property. So that leaves him, because he's only charging 5%, with only 2% left. Well, I know right away he has to pay 1% to his brokerage. So that only leaves $1 bill left, Brian. And let me ask you a question. Of the two choices that are left, which one do you think that agent was going to do? Feed his family and his kids, or market your property effectively? Feed his family. Feed his family. And that's what I assume, Brian. It doesn't matter what I charge. What I charge is fair for my services. What I care about is what you get. At the end of the day, when you're in your moving truck and you're high-fiving your wife, going, we're getting out of this town. Right, if you're driving away and you're looking at the check, I want that check to be as big as possible. Isn't that what you want?
It is.
So what I would like to do is just go ahead, get your property listed, get on the market. I only charge 6%. I'm willing to go up if we need to do some additional promotions or marketing. Now, does that seem like a plan that would work for you? Before you say anything, say, are you willing to go down to that?
Are you willing to go down at all?
Okay, write this down, Smash Guy. No. 9 out of 10 times, that works. So he's going to say,
Okay.
all right. I appreciate you trying to do that. And carry on. Now, there's a variety of different ways to handle commission objections. I found this to be one of the best ways because it visually says that you're not rolling around in the bed naked with a whole bunch of money. Right? So, hey, I'm only getting a little piece of that. I can only partly cover myself with money. You guys know what I'm saying? But there's other ways to do that. And I learned this from another agent, and I don't remember who it was. So I'm in the room, and I don't get the credit card. This is another way he handles commission. Brian, ask me what I charge.
What do you charge?
Brian, you probably assumed it was based on the marketing and servicing that I explained that I was going to do, that I was going to charge a lot more than other agents. But I actually only charge 3% to market a property. Now, the only thing that we have to figure out afterwards is how much do we want to pay to encourage other brokers to bring their clients to your property. Now, you could start at 3% additionally to pay them if you want to. A lot of times my clients like to be a little bit more aggressive and go to 4% to encourage more showing agents to show your property. And I've even had some clients that are kind of crazy that want to go all the way up to 5% to really get their property sold fast. Now, Brian, since my fee is really fixed based on my services and things, how much would you like to pay the buyer's agent that brings the property? 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, and 5.
Wow.
3.5.
See, now we're at 6.5. Well, you're laughing, right? I've got a 0.5% raise on this guy. You get it?
That's a perfect script.
People assume that we get the entire 6%. So then we're left at these other conversations. They don't realize that after that 1%, you just tear the dollar bill in half. If that's against the law, so maybe fold it in half and say, hey, if I could give half, then Uncle Sam an extra 4% now based on some people's votes. Now, when we're, oh, I'm sorry, did I offend somebody in here? Now, once we're done with that, what I found is 90% of the time they have no objections because we've been so thorough. But there's always somebody annoying that has some sort of objection. So let's take a look at a few options. Let's talk about the types of objections that you might get. Now, I have some examples up here that I'll show you guys how I handle it. But if you can think of anything else, you're like, hey, I always get this one, then feel free to raise your hand in a second.
I only want to do this.
See, he doesn't listen, right? What's up? I want to wait to sell my property until the market gets better. Pretty common? Yeah. Variety of ways to handle that. This is very much determined by the market you're in. Dan, this is Dan Gerrie. He's a rock star agent in Florida. Dan, is your market going up or going down or stabilizing?
Going up.
Going up. So it's not going to work as good in his market. A lot of markets are still kind of bouncing around the bottom. They're not really going up in all price points. One of the scripts that I use is, you know what I found? Is a lot of times that the price I tell you today is going to be greater than the price I would tell you in 6 to 12 months if you decided to wait. Because there's a lot of inventory outstanding, bank-owned foreclosures, auction properties, etc. that still need to get sold before the market starts to recover. So my greatest fear for you is that you're going to wait to sell your property, and in the end, you're actually going to end up selling for less. Now, what I would ask you, Dan, is I understand you want to sell for a little bit more. When you sell your property, you're going to buy something else.
Yes.
Is that property potentially going to be more expensive?
Yes.
So what happens, Brian, if you wait to sell your property for more, you think if your property's selling for more, everybody else's properties are selling for more too. So what you're saying is you're willing to make a little bit of money on your house, only to spend more money on another home. See, what happens is that consumers don't understand that the price of money is not so much determined by the value of the property, the price of the property, but by what? Interest rates. For every 1% increase in interest rates, there's a 10% increase in monthly cost. So we might wait for your property to go up 5 to 10%, but interest rates could go up 1 or 2%. It could end up costing you as much as 20% more on your home purchase. Because right now, interest rates are under 4%, maybe 3.5%. It's not going to be too long until they're 5, 5.5, or 6. Make sense? So what I think the right thing to do is take advantage of this market, get your property sold for the right price now. Let me do my job and get you a home that's potentially 5, 10, 15, or 20% off current market value today. You take advantage of low interest rates, and we'll actually get this thing sold, and you're making money. That seems fair to you? See? Make it logical. Next one. My brother-in-law is a real estate agent. Apparently, he's got a different brother-in-law than me. Get that? You see that one too, right? How would you handle this type of objection? I might say, you know, working with family is never really a great idea in my opinion. Here's a couple of reasons why. You can't fire him once you hire him because he's going to kick off your system, right? You can't have as perfect conversations as you need to because you don't want to offend them. With me, Brian, all you have to do is just tell me exactly what you're thinking and I'll address it. You're not going to hurt my feelings at all. Additionally, there's a lot of financial information that gets exposed in the home buying and selling process. You may not want that information to go directly to your sister or to your brother-in-law. I have a great alternative where your brother-in-law can actually make more money than I can. This situation would be, let me market your property. You already said this is the most aggressive marketing plan you've seen any agent talk about. I'll give your brother-in-law a call. I'll let him know that you decided to list with me, and he can still bring a buyer. When he brings a buyer, Brian, he'll get paid between 3%, and you want to offer more than 3.5%. But he's not going to have to spend all the money that I am on the marketing and servicing your listing. So he's actually going to make money on this transaction. Does that seem like something that'll work for you?
Sounds good to me.
You guys will not be surprised how many people allow me to call the other agent we already have an appointment with and cancel for them. They usually laugh. Really? You call? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was thinking of listening with Bob as I see his signs everywhere. Brian, that's what happens when you don't sell them that fast. I have another agent that I'd like to interview before making my decision. Brian, I know that you already have an appointment scheduled with Bob from Coldwell Banker, the number 2 company. Here's what I'm thinking, Brian, and I want permission just to be honest and straightforward with you. We went through this presentation, and you seemed impressed with the things that I was going to do to get your property sold. And at the end of it, you said that you were confident that I could get your property sold for a price that works for you. What I want to do is I want to give Bob a call. I want to let him know that you decided to list with me. That he doesn't have to take all that time away from his family today working on the CMA. You don't have to bother your family with going through another one of those stupid presentations. Let me get the property marketed and sold. I will send him all the information so he can get first shot to send it to all of his buyers so he can get the buyer side of the commission, which is actually larger than the amount of money I would make because I'm investing all the money into the marketing and servicing of your property. Would it be okay if I helped him not take that time away from his family tonight?
Sure.
Don't get it? Works 9 out of 10 times. It seems like homes are selling fast. I don't want to list until I find my new home. You could be in gangrene like right now, prices are picking up and activity's picking up, and you got both buyers and stuff going on. Brian, when you find the property you want to buy, and I'm really good at finding it, what I found, to get the property accepted, you either need to have cash or you need to build it close quick. In this market, you're not going to be able to wait till you find a property, write a contingent offer, and actually get it accepted, unless you're writing on a really poor priced property. You want to buy a poorly priced property, Brian? What I would like to do is get your property marketed, get a buyer for it. I will make that buyer's offer contingent on you finding another property that suits your needs. You and I will go out there and find the best property for you and your family, and if for some reason we don't, we'll either postpone the closing or we'll cancel the contract. Does that work for you if I could do that, protect you and your family so you guys are home?
Yes.
Okay. I talked to another agent with similar stats to you, but he is willing to list my home at 1%. Will you match that?
No.
I would like your best price on what my home is worth, so I can see if you're in the ballpark as to what other agents have told me. I would like your best price on what my home is worth, so I can see if your ballpark is in the price of what other agents have told me. I don't come to a listing presentation with a CMA with a price written on it. That is just information that I will use against you and make you guys look dumb. If I can get a hold of that, why would you use that property? Probably never even seen the inside. That's ridiculous. Right? Instead, I do the 555. I go through it, I take the actual MLS sheets, I highlight it, I write on it, I circle the price, days on market, list the sales price, bedroom, fast, square footage, of lot size, and I hand it to them. After reading out loud, this property sold for this price, this size, et cetera, et cetera. This property sold for this one. This property did not sell, it's been on the market for 300 days, hasn't sold this price. And I go through the pennies, et cetera. And then at the end, he's usually like, I didn't know that. Brian, based on the information that I just showed you, and I have a number in my mind too, but I need to ask you, before I tell you, what price, based on the current market stats I just shared, because those are up to date today, do you think your property is actually going to sell for, based on that information? He will come back with a number that's real. If he doesn't, then you say, Brian, that sounds like a great number. Find me one of these properties that justifies it, because when we sell it, we're going to sell it to somebody who most likely needs a loan. We're going to have to get an appraisal. If they won't appraise, they actually can't close on it. I don't want to put you and your family through that. Find me a property that matches that. Well, if we can't do it, you can't do it. Maybe it's not the right time for you, Brian. Maybe you need to wait. Make sense? The 555 solves all your problems. I go into banks that want to sell a $700,000 property, do the 555, or if I have to, I do a 10-10-10. And they'll come back and say, you're right, it's under 500, isn't it? Yep. Get it sold right away. Another agent told me a home will sell for $300,000. You said we think we should list it at $260. Why the difference? Brian, there's a difference between what you list it for and what you sell it for. What we don't want to do is we don't want to make your home like chasing a gigantic bouncing ball downhill. What we want to do is price your property correctly right away. Because what we've seen is you get the most amount of activity between the first 30 and 45 days to come on the market. There's no reason to start high and then reduce it. Let's just start with a price we're happy with and hopefully get multiple offers so you actually net more at the end. Does that seem like a plan that would work for you?
Yeah, it does.
Upward. I need to update my kitchen before my house goes on the market. Yes, you do. I have two friends that sold their home for sale by owner quickly at top dollar. Why not just save the money and do it myself? You guys should write this down. This is the absolute best for sale by owner trick you'll ever have. It's not even a joke. Brian, some people are lucky to sell their home on their own. And I don't know when they actually sold it, if it's in this market or another market, they already knew the buyer or whatnot. Let me give you the stats today. The National Association of Realtors, who does this huge study, showed us that of the people that tried to sell their home on their own, 86% of them eventually had to list with a realtor like me. 86%. Which means, Brian, only 14% of people were successful at selling their home for sale by owner. You know what's interesting about that, Brian? Is of the 14% that were successful, 50% of them sold it to somebody they already knew. That's like a neighbor, friend, etc. If you already know somebody who wants to buy your home,
We are.
I figured since you and I are talking right now. Additionally, of the 7% that were successful selling that didn't sell to somebody they already knew, they sold it on average for 10 to 12% less than if they were marketed by a professional like me. Now, Brian, you saw that I only charge about 6.5% to keep your property sold. So you're actually making 4% by marketing with a professional. So think about it like a diamond. If you're going to sell a diamond, Brian, do you think you can get more money for it at a pawn shop where some people come in looking for jewelry, or at a nice jewelry store in the mall? You get it? Because the jewelry store has people who are actually looking for your product. That's what I have as a professional. I keep your home sold for the most amount of money so you can actually do that one. Now, the last stat that I got to warn you about, of the real estate-related lawsuits in the United States, 75% of them resulted from one unrepresented party. Let me summarize this for you, Brian, because I know it's a lot of stats. You have an 86% chance of failure to try to sell your home on your own, which if you are successful, a 7% chance if you don't already know somebody, you're going to get on average 10 to 12% less, only to have a 75% chance to get done. What do you think about selling that property on your own?
What else?
That's right, baby. RTX claims that they would sell more homes in this neighborhood than all the other brokers combined. Why would I want to hire you? Brian? They might not be. In college, I read this book. Probably this one, actually. It's called How to Lie with Statistics. This book said that you can use any number you want to look any way you want. So what that broker does, they take all these independent people, all these independent contractors, and they cram all their numbers together to make it look like they do a really good job in your area. But buyers don't contact a broker, they contact an agent. Sellers don't hire a brokerage, they hire an agent like me. You don't want to hire a successful broker, you want to hire a successful agent, because that's the person you're going to hold accountable. So their market stats don't really matter. What matters is my